Let me share with you guys a couple stories this time. Now, the first one actually happened in 2011. I was part of it. Being supportive of the UFW, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta founded this foundation some years back, and then they called me in 2011. They called me for an event. You guys are not familiar with UFW. What they do is they support they help farm workers. They usually help them out. They've done many things for them. At the time of the video, when I'm recording this video, I yesterday I went to the website ufw.org, and this is how it looks like. They have a lot of information. Like I said, their idea is to help the farm workers. So I encourage you guys can visit the website. Again, it's ufw.org, and you guys will find a lot of things. Well, this story that I'm gonna be telling you guys is a story that was called again in 2011 to help the tomato pickers. Now, for us to imagine how is tomato picked, I got these pictures from the internet. They you guys can see people are on their, you know, not walking straight. They're a little getting a little low to pick up the tomatoes. They get them into a bucket. So they're there all day long. That looks like a lot of work. They collect them in a bucket, then they bring it to somebody, and then that somebody checks that their tomatoes are well picked, like they have good tomatoes, and they empty it in a bigger container. That's how they work. Now all this bucket right now they get less than $1 per bucket. Well, back in 2011, what they were doing is the farm workers will pick up the tomatoes, they will bring them over to, to get checked, and then they will start picking like, oh, there's a bad tomato here, there's a bad tomato there. They will start emptying out their bucket. If and then they had a rule, if they could see the inside of the bucket, they will empty it like we see here in the picture. They will empty it in a bigger container. They will give it back to the farm worker and tell them, "Here, you didn't do a good job. I was able to see the inside of your bucket, so you didn't do a good job. So here, I'm not gonna pay you for this bucket." And that's how they were working at the time, which is totally unfair. I understand there's bad tomatoes, take them out. Don't pay 'em for the whole bucket, but at least pay 'em for what the person did. The person did half a bucket, both pay him for half. Paying for what, it was the person's worth. Don't come over and take a few and then say, here, I'm going to collect what you did, but I'm not going to pay you anything. So again, they call us. At the time in California, the governor was Jerry Brown. And the UFW asked Jerry Brown, can you please help us? We want to pass the law that it is okay for the farm workers, if their bucket is not well picked, it is okay for them to just get paid for what they collected, half a bucket or a third, a three quarters, or whatever it is that they collected. And then we asked Jerry Brown, and then to show him that we meant like it was something important for us, we said, just to show you how important this is for us, we're gonna do a march. We're gonna walk. We're gonna walk from Bakersfield to Sacramento. We're gonna go walking, and then we passed it on. So they called me and they said we're gonna do a march. We're gonna be walking, and I said sure, why not? I respect the farm workers a lot. Like I've never done it. Thinking of how far that is, I was like, sure. I even asked them, what are we gonna do to sleep? Like obviously we're not gonna make it in one day. And they said, no, don't worry. We're gonna be walking for a few hours, about 10 hours a day. We're going to be working from 10 to 12 hours a day. And then once we get to our destination, they had stops. They already had a scheduled plan. Once we get to the stops, people will come over and they'll help us out. And yeah, we will show up, and then we were a group of people, and then somebody will say, well, you know what? I have room in my living room. I can accommodate like three people. So three people will go with that person and sleep in their living room for the day. Somebody else will be like, oh, I can only fit two people. Well, two people will go, and so on and so forth. So there were a lot of people that were willing to help us out, and that's where we will spend the night. And then, so we started. I said, sure, I'll join you guys. Let's go. In our march, in there, we had who the president of the UFW at the time, Arturo Rodriguez. He was walking. I could see him there. Um, I was like, man, if Arturo's doing this, man, what can I say? This is awesome. So, like I said, I enjoyed it. I continue. I went walking, and we went on. So every morning, the way we will start our mornings, one thing is we will get together, we will do a little prayer, and we will eat bread and drink coffee. That was how we started our days. So here you guys can see how we started our days. Now, like I said, you guys can see me right there. I'm the one with the black, I mean that red shirt. The one with the red shirt. Like I said, we will have our bread, we'll have our coffee, and we will go on. At the very beginning, I'm not gonna deny it. There were a lot of people at the beginning. Every morning, people would join us because they would come and take pictures of us, and then the local TV will be there, the local radios, and local newspaper. A lot of people will show up, and then some local politicians will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm walking with you guys." They will walk with us probably like half a mile, and then they will just give us a farewell, and then we will continue. So the mornings were really, really nice. It was, like I said, there were a lot of people. Let me show you guys a picture that I got here. You guys see me in the back, and then, like I said, you guys can see there's a lot of people. Every morning it looked like that. Now, once we would continue, we were, I don't know, probably about 15 people. Altogether, we were 15 people that we were able to make the whole march. Not like I said, but in the mornings it was a lot. But then it would just be the normal 15 of us. Now, the one person I'm gonna say that I did talk to the most, oh man, this guy was very inspiring. Don Abel. Don Abel was about 80 years old. And Don Abel actually was walking with boots, the pointy boots. Man, I was walking with sneakers. I was walking as comfortable as I could. And I saw Don Abel. I was like, man, if he's not complaining, I cannot complain either. But Don Abel was the one that helped me out the most because I will get to him and be like, Don Abel, can you tell me how was it the first event that you did with the UFW? He'll be like, sure, let me tell you. And then he will tell me his stories. They were awesome to hear. And then sometimes we like, Don Abel, can you tell me how was it the first time you met Cesar? Oh yeah, let me tell you. And then that's how he always started. Oh yes, let me tell you. And like I said, he would tell me his stories. He was an awesome guide. It's really good. I'll be honest, some of his stories got mixed. He would start telling me a story and it sounded like another story he had told me before, but I didn't care. I didn't care. I was like, you know what? It's fun to hear his stories. And then, like I said, we will start walking. I will get close to him, and then all of a sudden I will hear it's lunchtime. I would not realize we had walked for I don't know how long. And then that's how we were. Like we did talk. But the funny thing is that after we finished with this march, we had a reunion like about a couple weeks later. He comes up to me, he introduces himself. Hi, I'm Abel. So I just smiled. I could tell he didn't recognize me. I was like, oh, nice to meet you. But yeah, Abel was awesome. Rest in peace, Abel. Then, like I said, we will continue walking. Another thing that we had is the UFW very religious, so that we had the Virgin of Guadalupe at the front. Somebody had to be carrying it. So here I am. I am with somebody else. We're out there carrying it. And like I said, continue walking. It was an awesome experience. Um, Let me show you guys Leo. Oh man, Leo was another guide. He was one of our leaders. He was the one that directed us. I would listen to him a lot. Now, Leo, you guys can see him here. Unfortunately, he was diabetic. No one knew, not even himself. We didn't know he was diabetic. Well, imagine walking from here to Sacramento, from Bakersfield to Sacramento. It's a long walk. It's a long, long walk. Your feet are gonna get damaged. Like you're gonna suffer some injuries. And Don Abel, because he was diabetic, he actually ended losing his legs. They had to amputate him. They got really bad. Like I said, we didn't know. We didn't know, otherwise he would not have done it. Unfortunately, no one knew until it happened. They had to amputate him, and I was like, man, someone actually gave his legs for this thing. Like he cares so much for the tomato pickers. We were glad. We're gonna say probably like about a couple of days before we finished, like 2 days. We had about 2 days, 3 days left, and we get a call saying Governor Jerry Brown signed your petition. It is the law now. And we were like so happy because we're like, man, we accomplished it. We told him that it was important for us, and he did it for us. And then obviously we were not going to stop. We just continued. That gave us more energy, and we continue. We continue walking because we said we're going to make it to Sacramento, and we were going to make it. Once we got to Sacramento, that we left it for 1 mile. 1 mile before we finished, that's where we stopped. Okay, we finished like 1 mile. And we said we're gonna go to sleep and we're gonna do the last mile on the last day. Oh, we were so excited. We were really, really excited. We were really tired too. We could barely walk. We were walking really slow 'cause, as you guys can imagine, our legs were hurting a lot. So we went to sleep, all excited. Just 1 more mile. The next day when we showed up, ooh, wow, there were like thousands of people, thousands that showed up to see the ending of the march. And then we get together. We know we're coming to our gathering place as expected. I was expecting some local politicians, some local people, like it happened every morning. And then, but when I showed up, I saw buses of people, and I was like, wow, it felt really, really good. And then we did our morning ritual. We had our coffee, we had our bread, and then we did a little prayer. We had a little talk. We had some Native Americans that were blessing us as well, and then thanking us. We had some farm workers that were there, telling us that how hard it was working at the tomatoes, so telling us how important this thing was, and it was really, really touchy. But then they said, okay, the last mile. We want to see you guys finish it. So there we went. The group of us, we started walking. And there we go. Just started walking. Like I said, 1 mile. We're thinking just 1 more mile, 1 more mile. Oh man, we felt every single step. Like I said, our legs were hurting. We were walking really slow. And people just started passing us. They were like, we're gonna finish it with you guys. But we were walking slow. So they will come and pass. Some of them they just were in a hurry to make it to the end. They will even push us to the side. We're like, oh man, a few minutes ago you guys were telling us how important this thing is. Now you're pushing us, but okay, well, whatever. So then we get to the Capitol. And then here it is. We took this picture. This is now you guys can imagine how packed that thing was. There were a lot of people. So they made it obviously before we did. They finished their mile before we did. Once we get there, they bring us up to the stage. They had a stage for me. That's where I took this picture from. They had a stage. They had they had some chairs, and they said you guys might want to sit down. And oh yes, yeah. Even though we just walked 1 mile that day, it was tiring. So yeah, we sat down. We were excited. We were high fiving each other. We were hugging each other. We were really, really happy. So then they came. They did a few speeches. We heard them. Like I said, we're sitting down. I saw, like I said, some farm workers, and they were thanking us for what we did for them. And I was like, yeah, this is one thing that people have to continue. We gotta continue helping those that need our help. I think farm workers they have very, very hard work. So I gotta come over and support them. And then on the stage, they came and they told us that the UFW organizers they look for singers or famous people that were in the area, and they call them and they message them and saying, we're gonna do this event. If you want to join us, you can come over. And then a couple of them did show up. They were a band called Los Horóscopos de Durango, and there was a singer called Larry Hernandez. They showed up. Now, the reason why I want to show them, the interesting of this is that on the message when they told them we would like you to come to our ending of our event, they told them we just don't have money to pay. So if you can come and help us, we will appreciate it. We just cannot afford you. So they actually showed up for free. They showed up, and then Larry even took out one of his jackets and then threw it to the people in front of them, and obviously they came and they were so excited. Los Horóscopos de Durango, they did a really good show too. We all saw it from our chairs. We were all sitting down. But like I said, it was cool. It was nice seeing them doing something for our people. Now, that's something that we did, and like I said, I remember it uh, very well. I They gave us a cross at the end. They gave us a cross with the dates when we started, when we ended, and I have that cross on my desk because that's a reminder. It's a reminder of what the help that our farm workers need. Another thing too is that I did carry a UFW flag through the whole march. I was supposed to return it, and I did not. I kept it, and I have that flag by my desk as as a reminder of that march. It was really cool. Now we're lucky, and I said we are lucky because people, not everybody from the nation can come over. The headquarters for the UFW are in Keene, California, by Tehachapi. We know Tehachapi, by right there, Keene, California. It is a national monument now. Matter of fact, President Barack Obama came over and made it a national park. In there, you guys will see how things were. There's a lot of history about the UFW, and I encourage you guys to do go see him. There's like the office of where Cesar used to be, and then also it shows you a lot of stuff. Um, there's things that are very, very important. Obviously, there's Cesar and his wife's buried, but next to them, there's this water fountain. People just look at it like, this is water. It's just water falling. But no, every little thing in there has a meaning. So we can see the water fountain has five waterfalls because when the UFW first started, ranchers were actually they shot up some people. They didn't want the UFW to start, and then they were shooting at some people, and they actually got to kill five of them. So each of these water fountains represents each of those that fell, that died in the year. There's also many religions that were part of, so you guys can go and then there's symbols of the many religions that were part of the UFW when it started. It's a place that I encourage you guys to do go visit. Now, the UFW, another thing that they established, which I'm really proud of them, another thing that they established was the UFW Foundation. Here, I'm going to give you guys the address and the phone number. If anybody needs them, please do contact them. Now, the UFW Foundation is basically what lawyers would do to help people that are here with without the documents needed to be here. To the people that need help on that, the UFW Foundation is here to help. It will do what lawyers do, just not at a lawyer's price. So it's actually pretty good. My mom works there right now, so that's why I know what they do. Pretty good, pretty important foundation that got established by the UFW as well. Now, at the beginning, I mentioned I was gonna share a few stories. So now let me show you guys another story. Now, I came and I was like, well, from here to Sacramento was a long, long walk. It was probably like about 300 miles. I think that's how long it is. But then I heard a story. I was not part of it. I just heard of a story of this guy that came over. His name is Bill Irwin. And then this guy actually walked the Appalachian Trail. Appalachian Trails, you guys can see, crosses states. It's really, really, really long. Now, let me show you guys. Let me share this other picture here instead of the entrance of the Appalachian Trail, just for you guys to see how big this thing is. To reach the mountain at the end, it's about 2,200 miles. It's a little less than that. Now, I'm gonna say the long, long trail. I thought 300 miles was a lot for me. Oh man, forget it. That's even a word. That's even a lot more, right? Now, the views in there in this trail are must be amazing. According to the internet, these are pictures that I found on the trail, and I was like, wow, that must be really, really nice. Just walking through those must be really, really cool. walking through forests. You're gonna be walking through some mountains as well. You're gonna have like really, really nice views. And then you might be like, "Oh, what's so important about this story?" Um, well, I'm gonna tell you guys. Well, the trail to begin with is very, very hard. About 90%, which is a big number, 90% of people that do this end up quitting. End up quitting. So not that many people finish. But then the story that I'm gonna tell you guys is about Bill Irwin and his dog Orient. This is the story. They came over and they did it in 1990. They started in March. They started walking in March, and they finished in November of 1990. Bill Irwin. If you guys search him, Bill Irwin, that's and his dog Orient. They walked through there. Now there's even another picture here. Let me show you guys another picture of Bill and his dog. Here they are. They ran into snow because it's getting into November. And you guys might be like, well, what's so important about this guy? Why is this guy so important to you, Mr. Leonzo? And then I'm gonna tell you guys right now why. Like I said, it was them two walking, just them two, him and his dog. But what was surprising about Bill is that he was completely blind. I was like, man, I struggled my 300 miles and I can see, I can walk, I can do everything. Now Bill here, he walked blindly. He even survived a broken rib. He had hypothermia, fingers that were split from the cold. His fingers were splitting. He lost several toenails of his toes. Like they out of all I don't know, he hit himself so many times. And the weather conditions that he went through were so intense that his dog passed out. Now, I'm not gonna deny it. He even says it. Bill says it, and he says every day he wanted to quit, but he did not. He continued. Now, his story, he decided to uh, even write a book. If you guys ever read a book or want to read a book, actually, book that I recommend you guys is Blind Courage. It's a story about Bill Irwin. I'm gonna come and say, man, he had many limitations. He's blind. He's sight to begin with. Sometimes I get a paper cut and I feel like I'm dying just out of a paper cut, out of something so little. Now imagine not being able to see and then going and walking almost 2,200 miles, just him and his dog. Very encouraging, man. He comes and he wrote a book, and then based on that book, they even made a movie, Blind Courage. So if you guys are ever looking for something to read or some of a movie to watch, I have mentioned before, I met the astronaut Jose Hernandez, and then he also has his movie, Thousand Miles Away, or no, a million miles away when he went to to space. That's another movie that I encourage you guys as well. And then another movie that speaking of movies, another movie that I also recommend. It's of this guy that I met, Sir Parker. Pretty interesting man. They made a movie called They Call Me Sir. His name is Sir Parker. He grew up. He grew up poor. He almost got killed. He actually had a gun pointed at him. I met him a few years back, and he was telling me his story that he had a gun pointed at him. It's just that the gun did not fire. So they came and they made his movie. So I hope this stories did inspire you guys into something. And then, like I said, if you guys are looking for a movie or something interesting, check this out. One thing I'm gonna tell you guys though, we have a saying in Spanish. In Spanish, we say, "Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres," which means tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are. What I'm gonna say is surround yourself with good people and something good will come to you in life.